We all know this song.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Now there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Peanut butter.
But before it was a viral meme in the early 2000s and featuring TV shows and video games, there was a tragedy that struck the group before they could see success from their music. The Buckwheat Boyz was a music group based out of Miami, Florida, and the group was founded by Marcus Bowens, Jermaine Fuller, and other members that was added later, such as J.J. O'Neal, Dougie Williams, and Randall Fry. The Buckwheat Boyz was first formed in 1995, but their first single and their most popular song, Peanut Butter Jelly Time, was released in 2001. The group would work on another album after the release of Peanut Butter Jelly Time, but the album would not be officially released. But songs from that album would make its way onto the internet. The Buckwheat Boyz, though, they wouldn't experience any success until their first song was uploaded to the internet, featuring a dancing banana, and the rest would be history, with the song being featured in Family Guy, The Proud Family, and Fortnite. But before the group got to experience any success from the hit Miami Bounce song, the group would experience a tragic loss. On Monday, August 12, 2002, around 11:20 p.m., a man approached a police officer in Las Vegas, Nevada, that a man has been firing a gun in the area of Maryland Parkway and Reno Avenue. A police officer saw a man at the bus stop that resembled the description of the suspect. The police officer would get out of his car and he would approach the man, who turned out to be Jermaine Fuller, a member of the Buckwheat Boyz. The details around what happened once the officer approached was never made available to the public, but we do know that Fuller and the police officer got into a scuffle that resulted in the police officer being shot in the head and in the chest. The bullet that was aimed at the police officer's head wouldn't actually penetrate his head, but would graze the side of his head. And the next shot that landed in his chest wouldn't actually penetrate his chest neither. The police officer would actually be wearing a bulletproof vest. Another officer would be arriving to the incident, and he would witness the police officer on the ground, seemingly appearing to be suffering from gunshot wounds. Fuller, who would see the police officer approaching, he would fire a shot at the police officer, striking his windshield, and the bullet would strike the police officer's microphone, saving his life and preventing any injuries. This would give Fuller enough time to escape, and he would flee to some apartments near the University of Nevada, the Las Vegas campus. Fuller would make his way into the apartments where two men were inside. Fuller would keep these men hostage in their own apartment until the heat would die down, but both of the men would escape the apartment by diving out of the window. Luckily, the apartment was on the first floor though. They would approach a police officer and they would tell them what happened to them, giving them the exact location of the guy they was exactly looking for at the time. The two hostages would report that Fuller seemed to be suffering from a gunshot wound in his arm, either from the initial shooting that the police officer was responding to, or from the scuffle between Fuller and the police officer that resulted in him shooting the officer. Before the police could make contact with Fuller themselves, Fuller would reach out to the local television station to report that he was related to someone who was famous, and he would want to be put in contact with Calvin Brody, who was his brother-in-law. The Las Vegas Police Department would contact the Los Angeles Police Department, and they would get into contact with Calvin and his wife Shantae Brody, who was Fuller's sister. The police would ask Calvin, better known as Snoop Dogg, to record an audio message to his brother-in-law, in which he would plead for Jermaine to surrender and to do whatever the police say because they have enough money to fight this with lawyers. This plea attempt, though, will fall on deaf ears to Snoop's brother-in-law. The police officers, whose hands were tied at this point, would go with the next best thing, and that would be to enter the barricaded apartment. The police officer would evacuate the entire apartment complex that morning. On an initial attempt to enter the apartment, Fuller would fire shots at the police officers while they're trying to come through the door, but they wouldn't shoot back at Fuller. In fact, they was having a hard time getting to the apartment because of the heavy furniture that barricaded the door. But eventually, they would make entry into the apartment where they wouldn't witness any gunshots and they wouldn't be able to find Fuller anywhere. But after entering the bathroom, they would find Fuller dead from a gunshot wound, which they don't know it was self-inflicted, or from the gunshot wound that he suffered before, or from the gunshot wound that the witnesses reported to the police, leaving the world and his family with more questions. The Buckwheat Boyz, though, they were dismantled just a year later in 2002, marking the end to their promising careers.